Hey guys, we are back for yet another reaction video, and tonight we're going to be doing something a little bit different. You know, I had this idea quite a while ago. This is one of my first ideas, and it took 40 plus episodes for me to do it. I don't know why. It's sort of a different idea. This is something I do every couple years. I will go into Google Earth or Google Maps or whatever, and I will just check out my old neighborhoods that I grew up in. And when I do that, it's sort of, I'll look at my house, I'll retrace my steps, my route to school, my walking route to school, where my friends and I used to hang out and all that sort of stuff. And it brings me like an overwhelming feeling of nostalgia. So it's really cool to do that once in a while. And I haven't done it in a while, so I thought, hey, let's do that tonight. I don't know how interesting that's going to be for a potential watcher, a potential viewer, a potential voyeur, but I'll try to make it as interesting as possible. I'll try to add some commentary. And so yeah, if you're interested in taking this journey back through my childhood with me, then come join. All right, so with that being said, I was born in 1982. Oh yeah, so basically this is just going to be like an old man reminiscing about his childhood. So it's going to be like an old man going, back in my day, I used to wear an onion on my belt. That's a Simpsons reference. And that's exactly what it's going to be. And so basically my childhood was almost all pre-internet. So we got the internet in either late 95 or early 96. I don't remember. So, and I'm only doing up until I was like 18 years old. So we're not doing anything post 18. I'm not going to be showing where I currently live. That would be inappropriate. I'm not going to dox myself. Okay, so I was born 1982. I was born in Canada. I'm still living in Canada. I've always lived in Canada. I was born in London, Ontario. So let's type that in, see where that is. London, Ontario. All right, there we go. Here it is right here. Let's close this. London, Ontario. Now, I only lived in London for 2 years, I believe. So I was born in 82. I was born in December, so I was a late baby. So basically when I do math in my head regarding years, I always just assume I'm born in 83 because I like the colors and the visualization there. That was really psychedelic. But I lived there from 82 until 85. And apparently, according to my parents, so my parents, they were high school sweethearts. And so my dad went to Western University. I don't even know where that is. Western University. Let's see where that is. Western University. Okay, apparently where is it? Oh, it's right here. Okay, I guess this is the university area. My dad went, here it is right here. My dad went to Western. My mom, she didn't go to the university, but apparently they lived in the student residence. And I don't know if my mom got pregnant with me before or after they got married. I'm not sure. I obviously wasn't alive at the time. So I have no memory going to their wedding. So I'm assuming they got married first and then they ended up moving into the student residence. So I basically have zero memory of, this. However, you know what? I do have a memory when I was, like my earliest memory that I can think of was, I don't know if it's a real memory or if it's just something I sort of came up with in my head. But I remember being like my mom holding me as a tiny child. And I remember being in sort of like a parking lot, but there was a lot of trees and a lot of wilderness around. And it sort of looks like this. So I wonder if I remember being in the parking lot of the student residence. I don't know. Anyway, 1985 comes around and they end up moving out of the student residence. I think my dad finished university, and so they were both 22. Yeah, they were 22 when they had me, or at least my mom was 22 and my dad was 21. And then we moved to Lucan, Ontario. So let's go to Lucan, Ontario. If I remember correctly, I think, yeah, Lucan's right up here. I checked this earlier today. I didn't even know where Lucan was. I always thought it was like north. I knew it was north of London, but I thought it was northeast. But apparently it's northwest. And we're getting mighty close to the Great Lake here. Which one is that? That is Lake Huron. Okay, I should know that, but I don't. So we move, I guess we go up highway, what is it? Highway 4? Is that what that says? The numbers are so small. It's like, how do I increase the numbers? I guess I could just like zoom in. So you go up Highway 4 and then you're into Lucan. Lucan is a very small town. Now it's a lot bigger than it used to be. You know, because I moved there in 1985. And so what I remember about Lucan, I remember some things about Lucan, but in terms of population, we lived there until 1990, then we moved away. But I remember we went back there to visit one of my parents' friends. It was probably a year or less than a year later, and I remember seeing the population sign, the Lucan population sign, and it said 1,800, so 1,800. So it was a small town, and apparently we lived at 133 Main Street. I didn't know this at the time. I had to ask my dad. Main Street, yeah, Lucan, Ontario. So where is that? Here it is right here. So apparently this is the house. Does that make sense? Actually, I think it does. I think it does make sense. Wow. I didn't think I would recognize it, but I'm not even sure if I do recognize it. It was a very old house. It was, the first house that my parents bought. I remember it was $67,000 when they bought it. And it was very old-fashioned. There were keys to the doors, and the keys, they were like those big sort of old-timey movie keys. Those metal keys that you would put in. And I remember, at the top of this, there was a staircase, top of the stairs. That's where all the rooms were. And it was a really cool place. My sister was 14 months younger than me. So she was born shortly after that. But I remember the TV room. I had a rabbit that I used to play with in the TV room. Since, by the way, where did it go? 133 Main. Where is it? Oh, it's over here. Okay. All right, so I guess this is our backyard. I don't know what this is. It's some sort of building. I don't know what this is. Apparently that's a community residence. I don't know. I don't remember that. I do remember this. This was a backyard. For some reason, I used to go through this backyard. I don't know why. However, or maybe it was this one. It must have been this one. I used to go like through here in order to go to the park right here. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so I sometimes would go through this backyard here, and there was a dog in this backyard, and it chased me one day, and it like took a chunk out of my sweater, out of the back of my sweater. And ever since that day, or even before that day, because it never liked me. It used to bark at me, and I was always scared of dogs. And I was scared of dogs until I turned 18. So that's a long time to be scared of dogs, because my family got a dog. And then, once you're around a dog and you know what they're like, and you start to get used to them, and you're like, oh, okay, the dogs aren't crazy. It's just they're animals. So, and you know how to act around them. You know how they like to be treated and all that sort of stuff. So I started to get used to dogs. Yeah, I remember going to the park a lot back in the day. A bit of a baseball diamond here, sort of. I don't know how different this is. I mean, this is like almost 40 years ago. Well, it is 40 years ago, isn't it? 1985 to 2025? That sounds like 40 to me. Wow. There's definitely a lot more houses now. I checked the population today, and it was like 4,000. So it's definitely a lot bigger now. And one thing I remember about going to the park, apparently there's a creek right here. And I remember going over here. There's what's that thing called? Some sort of underpass thing. where the creek would go underneath. And I remember hanging out over here trying to catch crayfish. For some reason, back in those days, I like to collect dead crayfish. I don't know why, but I had like this cookie tin, and we would often go, or not often, but once in a while we would go on these trips, these camping trips, and sometimes we go near the water, and sometimes you'd see a crayfish shell, and I would be like, oh cool, and I put it in my collection. Apparently it smelled really bad, obviously, because it's like fish, but that's one thing I remember doing, hunting for crayfish down here. I don't remember much about Lucan because I was so young. My best friend, he didn't live in town. We both went to the same school, but I don't even know where he lived. He lived like out of town. They had a little bit of land and whatnot. He had a really long driveway. At least that's what I thought back when I was like 3 to however years old, 3 to 7 years old, 2 to 7 years old. I thought it was a huge driveway. And so there's, we have a hockey rink here. I used to play hockey. This is when I started playing hockey. Apparently there's a pool there. I don't remember there being a pool there when I was that young. Looks like there's a bunch of, are these all solar power stuff? I'm not sure. There was a funeral home, actually. Where's the funeral home? Hello. Here it is right here. Haskett Funeral Homes. The kid, he went here. His last name was Haskett. He was in my class, so we were the same age. I went over to, like, they lived here as well. His family lived in the funeral home. And so I remember going there and hanging out with them. I don't really remember much about the funeral home, but apparently it still exists. I looked at this earlier today, and he's like the owner now. So the guy I used to know, I don't know if he's the owner, but he's like next in line. Apparently it's 5 generations. So it's still running in the family. So that was kind of neat to see that. Now, the place where I went to school was up here. And I don't know what happened. It looks like the school doesn't exist anymore because this says this is the library. Okay. And then I don't know what any of this stuff is. There's a veterinary clinic here. I don't know what this is. But yeah, I mean, I swear this used to be my school. It seems like there's no schools in Lucan now. Let's type schools. Try and search for schools. How can I search for schools in Lucan? Okay. School. Witherforce Elementary School. Yeah, okay, so that has to be a new one because, yeah, that's a new school. Obviously, yeah, this is like a new neighborhood now. Okay. That makes sense. Then we have the portables back here. Yeah, because I remember the school was on the main street, right off the main street. However, this looks extremely familiar. Like with the portables in the back and then, the back, like the yard here. One thing I remember, so maybe the school always was here? I don't know. For some reason, I always thought it was on the main street. But the one thing I remember about school, actually, I rember a couple things. I just remember now. One of the things I remember is there was a big snowfall one year. So basically, I moved there when I was 2 or 3, and I did kindergarten, grade 1, and grade 2 in Lucan. And so one of the things I remember is in the yard here, assuming this is the same school, we created this absolutely gigantic snowball. So basically, there's a bunch of us like just trying to make this gigantic snowball. We just like kept going in circles, trying to make it as big as possible. And it was really big. I mean, I was very young, so obviously it probably wasn't that big, but I remember it was like, it was taller than I was, I feel like. That's what I remember. Also remember we were in the portable when that's where my classes were. And for show and tell one year, I brought this book that I had received as, I don't know, if birthday or Christmas present, but it was some sort of trivia book or like a book that had facts, random general trivia facts in it. And there were also pictures in it as well. It was a really thick book. It was like that. I don't know how many pages it was, but I remember going through every single page, and there was this one page where there was a woman in the water, and you could like see her boobs. And I was like, whoa. And so I brought the book to school, and for show and tell, I was like, hey, check out my trivia book, right? I'm talking to describing the book and whatnot. And my teacher, she wasn't looking at me. She was looking at the students or something, or she went back there to do something at her desk. I don't remember. And then I was like, and I turned it to the page with the boobs, and I was all like chuckling to myself and showing everyone the boobs. And that's basically the only memory I have of Lucan. Actually, I just had another memory. Okay, so there's this restaurant on the main drag here. It was called the Big Hitter. And so it served like burgers and fries and pizza and subs and whatnot. Apparently it doesn't exist anymore. I checked. Apparently the guy who owned it died a couple years ago. So I don't know how long it hasn't existed, but we lived there until 1990. And so I already mentioned this, we went back. I don't know if it was within the year. So we went back to visit my parents' friends. And then I decided that, okay, I was going to go get a burger at the Big Hitter. And so I walk over. Let's just see if I know where they live. I swear that they live over here. Yeah, they must live over here. My parents' friends. And so I ended up going like over here or something. And then going over here to where I'm assuming it used to be the restaurant. And so I go in, there's a guy there, and then there's one of his friends, they're like chatting or something, and I'm asking for a burger, and I want to get the biggest burger that they have, because I had quite the appetite back then, and I was very confident that I could eat it. And the burger was called the Big Hitter, and it was a huge burger, probably the biggest burger I had ever seen up until that point. And I wasn't able to eat it all, unfortunately. But that's what I remember about Lucan, Ontario. Okay, so 1990 comes around. My dad gets transferred or I guess he gets promoted or something, and we end up moving to Cambridge, Ontario. Cambridge, Ontario is right up here near Kitchener. I think it's over here. Yeah, Cambridge. Cambridge, Ontario is a beautiful place. So it's basically separated into three sections. So there's Preston, there's Hespeler right here, and apparently there's more, but at least back in my day, it was separated into three sections. And so we have Hespeler, Preston, and we have Galt. Apparently there's a West Galt and an East Galt. But here, Galt. And we lived in the Galt area. It was a very old part of town. The trees were really big. And so we lived, let's just see, I think it's this Cedar Street, is that right? St. Andrews Street, yeah. So I think we lived right here, actually. Yeah, Gilholm Avenue. We lived 47 Gilholm Avenue. This is where we lived. So can we do a street view of the house or what? How do you do the street view? 47 Gilholm Avenue. I've done it before, I don't know how to do it. Oh, is it this? Yeah, okay. So apparently this is the house right here. Yep, back in the day, it looks pretty small. My parents always say how small this house was. By this time, they had 4 kids. So, yeah, apparently our neighbor was a big pothead. I didn't know that at the time, but they told me that. He was a single guy, an older single guy, who liked to smoke the weed. But one thing I remember about this is you can see the garage door right here. So I was super into hockey back then, and what I would do after school is I would get my hockey stick And then I would just take slap shots at the garage door over and over and over and over again. And I obviously eventually got a really good slap shot out of it, but I absolutely destroyed the garage door. And it was blue at the time. And then I think when they sold the house, we had to repaint it. Probably had to put new boards up too. But that's what I remember about that. Yeah, I'm such good times in Cambridge. So how do we get out of this? Seriously, how do we escape this? Is it this? Yes. Excellent. Yeah, so I mean, it's hard to see, but there was a treehouse back here in the corner. And so this side of the treehouse, there was sort of like a hole in the wall of the treehouse, and I could go over the fence into the neighbor's backyard. I did that a couple times. I think like a ball would fly over his fence or something. And then on this side right here, there was a fence. And then right here, there was an Asian family. And the guy, I think he went to my school. He was my age. I remember going to his house a couple times. And then there was some sort of building right here. There's a fence right here. This is, must be another fence over here. But yeah, there was a building right here. Apparently it's just a house. I feel like there was a building here though. And I remember one time I was playing like baseball with a tennis racket. And I had a tennis ball and I was like trying to make big home run hits. And I ended up doing that, and I hit a window, and I broke a window, and I was super scared, and I don't think I told anyone. And then I think the guy came over, and he was asking people if they knew what happened, and I ended up getting in trouble because of that. So, yeah, one thing right here, there was, I don't think this existed, but there was, a gas station here. There was a corner store right here. This was a really busy intersection right here. You can see there's, I guess it's just 2 lanes here, 1 lane there. I'm not sure, but it was at least back in my day, it seemed like a busy intersection. And so one day, actually, a guy in our class, he ended up getting hit by a car right here, and he died. His name was Dave Cameron, and I don't even know how old I was. Oh, I would have been in grade 6 or grade 7, because I remember the school that I was in. But yeah, I didn't see it. Apparently he was like running across the street right here instead of like going through the intersection over here through the crosswalk, and a car just ended up, not seeing him and then hitting him. And I remember my best friend, he called me and he told me about it over the phone. And then, so he came over because it's like right near my house. So we came over here, and I think there was like an ambulance there and stuff. We didn't see him, thankfully, but so that was really sad. And so basically, I used to go to Highland Public School. This one right here. So for grade 3 to grade 5, I went to Highland Public School. And we have like a jungle gym area. We have a bit of a sandbox area. There used to be a baseball diamond. I don't know what happened to the baseball diamond. This was sort of like a soccer field as well. I don't know what's going on with all this stuff. It looks quite different now. But there used to be a baseball diamond. We used to play baseball all the time. Like before school, during lunch, during recess, and then after school. And then in the summer, we'd always play baseball. That's what we were always doing. And then back here, there were, the trees are kind of obscuring it, but you can see this piece of grass here. It goes all the way around like this. And this is like a tall hill. Tall. I was really young, but I remember in the wintertime, we would be able to do, they had like organized tobogganing. So you could go down the hill, slide down the hill. I don't wonder if they still do that. This part right here, this is new. I mean, this was built sort of my last year there, grade 3 to grade 5. I don't know if I said that. I think I did, but so it's basically this, and then this was new. I forget what it was. I remember being in there before. Maybe it was like an auditorium or something like that. And then right here, this is like a hill. So this goes up a hill. Right here, this is a hill as well. I don't. You can't really tell, obviously, but you go over here and then you go up a hill, and then right over here. I remember being back here though, being back around here. You could also get to the school from here as well. So there's multiple ways to get into the school. What is this? Design and decoration. Okay. But yeah, so how I would get to school. How did I get to school? So where did I live? I lived in Gilhome Avenue, which is right here, right? Okay, so 47 Gilhome Avenue. And then, so one thing I neglected to mention, for some reason in Cambridge, they have these lanes. So basically they're not streets, but they're lanes. Cars aren't allowed on them. Apparently they are allowed on them. I didn't think cars were allowed on them. Back in my day, these were dirt. They were not paved. I don't remember cars being allowed on these. Maybe they always were, I'm not sure, but they were laneways. And so oftentimes I would ride my bike down here, your BMX bikes, where you would press back in order to skid, and we would do skids and try to be cool. I remember E.T., the movie E.T. came out. Was that 88 or something like that? I don't remember. Actually, it was probably even earlier than that, because Drew Barrymore was in it, and she was quite young. I feel like she's older than me by a couple of years at least. Anyways, there's that classic bike riding scene in E.T. near the end where they're like doing jumps and stuff. I always thought that was like the coolest. And so we would always just like ride bikes down here. And then we would go through the lane, and then there was a convenience store right here where we would, buy penny candies. And in the summer times it would get really hot, so we would buy those jumbo freezies for like a quarter. The good old days. But in order to get to school, I was trying to plan my route. Let's see. I would go this way, then I'd go down Aberdeen. Then we have Churchill, and let's just see, where would I go? I think, and I would continue on Aberdeen, and I would go all the way to the end. So then now we have Gladstone. Gladstone, this was a really tall hill. When it would like go up a big hill right over here. Now, obviously I was young, so maybe it seemed like it was really big, but you had to go up a hill. And then so Aberdeen, keep going down Aberdeen, on to Salisbury. And then you have your Victoria Park playground. This is really cool. We have another baseball field right here and a huge piece of grass here. We have the tennis club. I took tennis lessons for a summer. I really liked that. And then so basically here's Aberdeen, and then I would turn left, and then I would either go up Forest Road and then go up the hill here, or I would just go to the front door. I don't really remember. Or I guess I would go up Gladstone and take the back way into school. I guess it depended how I felt at the time. But yeah, Victoria Park, it was really cool. Now, something you can't really tell, there was a huge wall right here, because once again, this became really hilly back here. So there was a big hill back here, and then there was like a retaining wall right here. And so it was really cool because you could play tennis against yourself on this court, because there was the big ass wall right here. And so apparently there was the guy who, I don't know if he owned the tennis club or not, or if he just ran it, but he was the father of a guy who was actually ranked on one of, I don't know what organization he was ranked in, but he was ranked in Canada. Greenan was his last name. And apparently he really wanted me to play tennis. I was very athletic. I had a really good serve. I had a really hard serve, but I was not accurate. So I could never get it in, or very rarely get it in. And I was good at the baseline, but I wasn't very good at the net. But he really wanted me to just continue and to try to get better. I remember him serving to me once. He thought that I could return his serve, but it was just ridiculous. It bounced so high and it like changed direction. It was crazy. I remember being kind of scared of that. And I did do one tournament. I did one tournament, and the guy I played against absolutely destroyed me, like 6-1, 6-2 or something like that. And I remember feeling so horrible about myself, like I was a complete failure. And at the end of the match, you have to go and shake hands. And the guy said I had a really good serve, but I was really, what's the word? I did not feel good. I was defeated. I felt very defeated, and I ended up quitting after that because my parents sort of made me choose which sport to play, tennis or hockey. And then there was a big woods thing back here with trails. You can see there's a trail here. There's probably more as well. There's one here. I remember one time we were playing baseball as always at school, and then I think one of the teachers or something came out, and we had a golf ball, and the teacher decided to like hit the golf ball, and he just absolutely smacked it into the woods. It went all the way over the field, all the way over the trees, and into the woods. I remember thinking that was the craziest thing ever. And then so you can this isn't a road, this is just a trail, and then it leads up to a roundabout right here. Apparently this is still Salisbury, so it ends here, and then it ends here. So, and then there's just like this gap in the street. But some of my friends lived over here as well. My best friend, where did he live? I'm trying to think here. Okay, so here's Dixon. This is the Dixon Hockey Arena. This was the shittiest hockey rink in Cambridge at the time. I remember one time we were doing practice, and there was a literal gouge taken out of the ice, and there was the cement underneath. So you had to avoid skating on it, or else you'd wreck your skates. But yeah, one of my friends lived on Blair Road. Two of my friends, actually, two of the guys in school. And then my best friend, where did he live? Where the heck did my best friend live? Honestly, I think he lived over here. Was it he probably lived on Lansdowne. It's very strange. His parents ended up getting divorced, and so they moved. They bought their own houses. So I knew him with basically 3 different houses. The one where his parents were still together, and then his mom moved to a house on her own, and his dad moved to a house on his own. And one of them was on Salisbury. No, not Salisbury. It was on Aberdeen. Where's Aberdeen? Aberdeen's over here. So I think it was his dad. His dad lived over here or something, and his mom lived near the convenience store, like right next to the convenience store or something like that. So they lived like really close to each other and in the same neighborhood. I remember this park. Another guy I went to school with lived like over here. And then it's just, the trees are so big. And there's this one street over here right next to the park where the trees, at least back in the day, the trees were so big that they would sort of create a tunnel. It looked so good. I think apparently this isn't a lane. Okay. This is different than I remember. From what I remember, there was a gigantic house over here somewhere. And it's probably this one, I guess. It's like the biggest house in the neighborhood. So what else do I remember about this? Oh, okay. So that was grade 3 to grade 5. And then I graduated and I went to a different school for grade 6 to grade 7. And so that was the opposite direction. So here we have Gilholm Avenue. Apparently Gilholm went over here as well. I was never over there. Wow, it's a really short street, isn't it? It just goes from here and then to there. But my other school, my junior high school, I had to go over here. I had to go through I guess I didn't really have to go through the big intersection. I used to go this way, down Glen Morris. And then my school was right here, St. Andrew's Public School. I remember clicking this before, and it didn't have a very high rating, 2.2. 2.2 stars out of 5. Apparently, people didn't like it. I thought it was a cool school. And so basically we were, I got the same group of students, the same schoolmates for grade 3 to grade 5. And then we ended up having to go to this school because, Highland School ended at grade 5. And so we could go to St. Andrews. And so basically St. Andrews had our school, Highland School, but it also had another school. It was somewhere around here. I forget what the school is called. But it was over here somewhere. Or is it over here? It's over here somewhere. Oh well, it doesn't really matter. But, so we were introduced to a bunch of new kids. So I made some new friends. I feel like that other school, they had the cooler kids compared with our Highland School. And then there was a babysitter. Our babysitter lived right across the street from the school. I remember she was really hot. She had this curly hair, perm curly hair type thing, long. For some reason, she reminds me of Carrie Russell. I don't know why. But if I remember correctly, her name was Lindsay. But she used to babysit us. I don't know how old she was at the time. She was probably like a high school chick. And then you keep going down here. We have the pool, George Hancock Pool. I remember going to the pool here in the summertime. I remember my best friend, he was allergic to bees. One time he got stung by a bee and he had to zap himself with not zap himself, but, with his needle there. EpiPen, I guess. All right. It was a very, very beautiful place. It looked very nice. Oh, there was also an amazing cemetery. Okay, so you go over here. Where would it be? Where's the cemetery? This has to be it right here. Yeah. Trinity Anglican Cemetery. Look at how big this friggin' cemetery is. And you can't really tell, but there were rolling hills, rolling elevation. It was absolutely amazing. And it's just huge, gargantuan. I can't remember where, the Dave guy, my classmate Dave, who died, he was buried in here, but I can't remember. I think it was over here. I remember going to his funeral. But yeah, there's a river that went through Cambridge, and then you'd have to go over a bridge in order to get downtown. Right here, this is downtown. And then you can go into the other areas, Preston and Hespeler. And so that was Cambridge, Ontario. Do I have any other stories about Cambridge, Ontario? I don't think so. I just have to have a drink of water now. So we lived in Cambridge from 1990 until 1995. 1995, once again, my dad got either promoted or transferred or something. So we had to move. Oh, by the way, when we moved to Cambridge, obviously I didn't know anyone. And so in order to try and make friends, I remember going to school and I didn't know anyone. And so there was this one guy who I liked the way his hair looked. He had the same name as me and I thought his hair looked cool. And so I would just follow him around. And I don't know how long it took, but eventually we just became best friends. And we were best friends for the entire time I lived there. So I guess making friends is that easy. I'm not even an outgoing person at all either. I don't know how to make friends at all. So Apparently it just worked. It just ended up working out like that. So if you're trying to make friends with someone, pick someone who has the same name as you and who you think has cool hair. And then they will become your best friend. It happened to me. It'll happen to you. All right, so after Cambridge, what happened? 1995, we ended up moving all the way north. We ended up going north, up to Sudbury, Ontario. This is about 5 hours north. Sudbury, Ontario. I'm trying to think if Sudbury, I think Sudbury had the most people so far. So obviously, London actually was the biggest place that I lived. I only lived there for 2 years. And then we moved to Lucan, which had very few people. Cambridge, I feel like it was around 80,000 or something population. I don't know. But then Sudbury was the biggest one, with the exception of London. So we moved to Sudbury, Ontario. We lived in the South End. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to know exactly where. So here's the Four Corners. That's a good reference. So there's a lot of stores in the Four Corners. This is the mall. What's the mall called? What the hell is the mall? What's the mall called? I can't remember what the mall's called. It had a name. What in the sweet heck is the mall called? Apparently it's not called it anymore because it's not showing up. Anyway, so we have to go down Regent. So the Four Corners are where Regent Street, this one right here, and Paris Street. Apparently that's Algonquin Road. That's not right. Four Corners are here. Regent and Long Lake Road. What? I thought it was Regent and Paris. Oh, apparently Long Lake Road, right here, turns into Paris at the Four Corners. I did not know that. Apparently I know that now. Okay, so we have to go down this way. Regent, there's Algonquin Road. Trying to think. Where was my high school? Regent. Okay, we're in a completely different area now. Loaches. Okay, here we go. Loaches Road. So this was my high school. That's Llewellyn High School, Llewellyn Park Secondary School. Oh, what's going on here? They're doing some sort of renovations to this area. That's interesting. So I think you have to go down this way, and then you get to Mallard's Landing. Yeah, Mallard's Landing. So I lived in Mallard's Landing. Pond Hollow Drive, and then this should be Sweetberry. Yeah, Sweetberry. Okay, so I lived on Sweetberry. So this is actually pretty crazy. Back in my day, here's Sweetberry Drive right here, right? Our house, my parents ended up having a house built on Sweetberry, and they were literally only the third house on the street. The entire street was just bare dirt. Like the lots, they were all just dirt, except for 3 houses. So this was really early on. Mist Hollow, this didn't even exist. This street didn't even exist. This street didn't even exist. Trailview. So now it goes into like Trail Ridge Drive. So normally, like, this Mallard's Landing area over here was completely separate from this area. You could walk, but you couldn't drive from here to here. So now it's all developed. There's, I did go back here in 2006, I believe. I remember I drove here with my friends and we checked out my old neighborhood and I was like, oh my God, there's houses everywhere now. Looks like there's still more stuff being built as well. But yeah, we were literally, so where's 84? 84 Sweetberry. Here it is right here. So this was our house. So can I do it's a blue house. Yeah, it must be this one right here. How do I do this? Okay, I'm starting to learn. So it's this one right here. Yeah, that looks like the old house. And then we have the garage in there. So basically you go in the garage. Hey, there's a guy right there. And then there's a door right here. And then it would go through a hallway. And this room right here, this was my sister's room. For some reason, she was 14 months older than me, and she always got the big room. She always got the big bedrooms. In Sudbury, and then where do we live after that? Sudbury, St. John's, and then Sudbury again. All those 3 times she got the big bedroom. I don't know why that is. I think I'm assuming I was just being nice and let her have it. But yeah, 84 Sweetberry. But basically, this was my sister's room. And then on the other side of the hallway was my room. It was a very small room. And then over here on like the low floor, there was a TV room. And then there was like an office right here. I have an amazing memory about the office right here. There was one day so basically there were 4 kids and 2 parents. So it was hectic, very hectic. All the kids did activities and sports and stuff. And there was this one day, it was on the weekend, and I somehow had the house to myself. So I didn't have anything going on. One of the kids or 2 of the kids, I don't know, they had activities. And so my parents drove them there. I guess they brought some of the younger kids with them as well. And so my parents were gone. The kids were gone. I had the house to myself. The weather was sunny. It was an amazing day. And my parents gave me money to order a pizza. And so this was on the weekend, so I didn't have to go to school. So I remember just being in the office here. There was a small TV in the office with the Super Nintendo hooked up to it. And so I was playing Yoshi's Island. So apparently that's a Super Mario World 2, I guess. But it's Yoshi's Island. Oh my God, I've such good memories of playing Yoshi's Island in this office. But that day specifically, I was playing Yoshi's Island. And I also had, I think my sister had a boombox or something. So I brought my sister's boombox into the office, and we had the CD for Live, Throwing Copper. Throwing Copper by Live, the band Live. I think that was I don't know if that was their debut, but this was very, it was very popular back in the mid 90s. And I still like that album even today. It's got some bangers on it, some slappers. So I was listening to that album. I was playing Yoshi's Island, and then it came time I ordered the pizza, and I got Little Caesars stuffed crust pizza. Now, this was back in the day when Little Caesars was a normal pizza place. It wasn't the hot and ready stuff that they prepare. It's like fast food pizza. No, this is when they were an actual pizza place, and they had stuffed crust. I feel like they had it before Pizza Hut, but it was so good too. They put their garlic crumble on the outside, and the cheese was so good. The one thing I remember, the one bad thing about it that I remember is that the crust, the dough, like the bottom of the dough, was very thin. I guess in order to make up for the fact that they had to make the stuffed crust, so they had to have extra crust, extra dough on the ends, so that they could roll it over. That's the one thing the one bad thing, but I can still taste it even to this day. I don't think they have it anymore, but that day, I still remember that day, playing Yoshi's Island, listening to Live, Throwing Copper, eating Little Caesars stuffed crust, and I had the house to myself. That is just like the perfect day. But I think when we moved in, it didn't even have grass in it. I remember we had to lay down sod and all that. So how do I get out of this? I already forget how to get out of this. So there's Sweetberry Drive. So this is where we lived. And so grade 6 and grade 7 I did in Cambridge, Ontario. So now I have grade 8. And so the school that I went to is Algonquin Public School. This one right here. And then there's a bit of a playground. What's going on with the playground? This does not look right. I feel like this used to be a field, but now I guess they're doing some renovations or something. But But yeah, there was a big ass field right here, and then we have an outdoor hockey rink right here. Clearly there's no ice right now, but it was a pretty nice hockey rink because there was a building that you could go in and put your skates on and stuff, a heated building. So that was really cool. Actually, one day in high school, actually in grade 9, me and my buddy, we came here to play some hockey. We brought all our gear, and it was the winter time, and we ended up ordering a pizza. We went in here. This was before cell phones, so we had to use a payphone or something like that. We ordered the same stuffed crust pizza from Little Caesars. We ordered it to the hockey rink, and we ended up eating it in right here, this little building here. This was where the benches were. I could still remember that too, sitting in my hockey gear, eating Little Caesars stuffed crust while watching people play hockey. That was a fun memory as well. Yeah, Algonquin right here. So basically my house was over here, and so I would walk over here. And then, yeah, I feel like right here, these houses did not exist. None of this stuff existed. This street did not exist. So basically, holy crap, man. This is crazy. Right here, none of this existed. This was just a big, empty area. I think there was some sort of dirt road that went up here. There was some sort of tower here. I don't know if it was a radio station that was transmitting from the top of the tower, or something was on the top of the tower. It's one of those huge towers. But apparently it's not here anymore. But yeah, just the road ended here. And so I would walk up here on the dirt road, and then come out over here onto Algonquin Road and just walk over to school. So that's what I would do. And then there used to be a convenience store right here. I don't know if there still is. But yeah, I remember one time I had a girlfriend in grade 8, and we used to make out a lot. And she was a bit of a horn dog. I mentioned her in a previous video, and so one time we were making out in front of the convenience store, because we would go here to get all the kids, would go here to get your penny candies and whatever. This was back in the days of penny candies, when you could literally buy one piece of candy for a penny. And then so what you would do back in these days, you would go there, you would get a little tiny paper bag, and then you would count out your candies, and you would put them into your bag, and then you would go to the cashier guy, and you would say, okay, I got 100 candies, so here's $1, or something like that, right? Or you would get like 25. I don't think they have those anymore, but I remember penny candies. That was like the big thing back in my day. But yeah, me and my girlfriend, we were making out like right over here in front of on the stairs to the convenience store. And all of a sudden this car drives up, and it's my best friend's dad, and my best friend's in the car. And I'm like, oh shit. They were picking me up to go to hockey practice. And so I wasn't at home. So they were, driving around trying to find me. And I felt so bad because I had lost track of time because I'm making out with my girlfriend. And I never did that again. Wow. Rockwood Drive. Crazy. So yeah, I never did that again, but I remember doing that. So what else? There was a school over here, a Catholic school. Maple Tree Preschool. What? Huh? No, it's St. Benedict's. Yeah, St. Benedict's Catholic School. Okay, apparently that... What about Algonquin? What's the rating on Algonquin? Wow, it's got a pretty decent rating. This was like a kindergarten to grade 8 school. However, it was like a really small school. I remember I was in grade 8, so there were 2 grade 8 classes. And so basically, you had the same class for the entire year. You would have different subjects, but there was this... You basically had one teacher. She taught all the subjects except for French and except for music, and I think except for gym. But everything else, I feel like she taught. Oh yeah, and I remember we had the end of year field trip. The end of year field trip where we went to Ottawa to see the like the Parliament buildings or something. And we ended up staying. It's really stupid. But, we were like 13 years old. And so we ended up staying at, I forget, some type of, it wasn't really a hotel. It was like a residence or something, but it was a multi-stories. And they put the girls on the top floor and the boys on the floor under them. And so I remember at night there, in order to communicate with the girls, I was staying with my friend. We were in one of the rooms and the girls were directly above us. And so they had like screens on the windows. And so we cut the screens out, which was really stupid. Don't do that. And we were hanging out the window, looking up, like literally outside the building, looking up. And then the girls were like, they did the same thing, but they just like put their head out and looked down so that they could communicate with us. And they're like, hey, come upstairs and come in our room. And so we end up going upstairs, like sneaking upstairs, because we're not allowed to fraternize with each other, I guess. That's a word, right? Fraternize. And so we end up sneaking into their room. And we're like hanging out in their room. If I remember correctly, we were in like our pajamas or something. I had shorts and a t-shirt or something like that. And because we were supposed to be going to sleep at this time. It was supposed to be lights out. And so we're hanging out. And all of a sudden we hear a knock at the door. And we're like, oh shit, we're not supposed to be here. So me and my buddy, we end up hiding in like a closet or something. Him in one closet, me in the other. And she opens the door. The girl opens the door, and it's our teacher. And then they start searching the rooms, and they open the door and they find us. And our teacher was wearing like a t-shirt, and she just had like her underwear underneath the t-shirt. But she wasn't like a hot teacher either. It was kind of traumatizing. So, and we got in a lot of trouble too, because we had cut the screens out. So we got in a lot of trouble. We had to, like the next day, we were supposed to do some sort of activity, and everyone who was involved in this bad behavior had to stay behind and write out, like they had to write an essay or something like that. So that's something I remember about that. But I remember doing a lot of sports over here. If I remember correctly, there's walls all around. Right over here, I remember making out with my girlfriend there. I put my hand under her shirt and I touched her bra. That was a pretty big event for me at the time. I was like 13 or 12 or something like that. Oh, right. Okay. And then if you go down here, we have Countryside Arena, Jerry McCrory Countryside Sports Complex. Yeah. And so this was our home rink. So I played AAA hockey in Sudbury both years I lived there. And so this was our home rink. So it was nice and close to me. And something really cool. If you know that show Letterkenny, there there are hockey scenes. Jesus. Hockey scenes, and because some of the characters are hockey players. And the scenes that they film outside of a hockey rink, they have a hockey rink in the background. This is the hockey rink that they're using. Countryside. I remember watching that show and I recognized the outside of the rink. I'm like, that's Countryside Arena. And I go on the IMDb page and I look for filming locations, and sure enough, it said Countryside Arena. So I was like, oh, that's really cool. I knew they filmed in Sudbury because I remember watching listening to the commentary. But yeah, there's also another show called Shoresy, and I think they also film in Sudbury. I've not seen the show, so I don't know what rinks they use for that. But so that was interesting. So I did grade 8 right here. And then whatever. And then, so grade 9 happens. Grade 9, change over to grade 9, and that's high school. So I have to go to high school. So I switched schools yet again. So I went to Lucan, then I went to Highland in Cambridge, then I went to St. Andrews in Cambridge, Then I went to Algonquin in Sudbury. Now I'm going to Llewellyn Park Secondary School. Where is it? Where in the heck is it? Holy Cross Catholic. Holy Cross. St. Benedict's. Oh, okay. So St. Benedict's is the high school and Holy Cross is the elementary school. Okay, I didn't know that. I did not know that. One of my friends went to St. Benedict's. I didn't know him at the time. I met him when we ended up moving to St. John's, Newfoundland. Then we moved back to Sudbury. And that's when I met him. I didn't even know he went here. But so we've already seen it. Here it is right here. Here's Llewellyn. So then I go to Llewellyn. And so what I would do is, where do I live? I live Mallard's Landing. So I would walk over here to go to Algonquin, but now I graduated to high school. By the way, I already told this. I won the athlete of the year for Algonquin for grade 8. Felt really good about myself. And then in order to get to high school, I would walk over here. I think I would cross the street here. And this is like almost a highway. It's very busy. There's no sidewalks, I feel like. And so, cross the street, and then I would go down this side street here because it was much easier to walk on. And then I would go up Armstrong, down here, and then right here. So right here at this corner right here, you can get to the high school right here because there's a trail that goes through here. So you can't really, I guess you can see it right here. But yeah, that's how I would get to high school. Llewellyn Park Secondary, but the front of the school is over here on Loaches Road. So it has like a shitty ass track right here. This is looking really bad. Apparently this is a football field / soccer field, I guess. Have some really ugly looking tennis courts here and basketball court there. And these guys also had an outdoor hockey rink. So that's 2 with a building. So I played in this one as well. This was a nice one too. I did not order pizza here, unfortunately. Just getting some nice psychedelicness right there. It's kind of funny. This area right here, I have an interesting story about this, actually. This happened later when I moved back. I think that I was out of school by then. I can't remember. But I went on the bus. I had to go downtown you know what? I think I had to go to probation. I think I had to take the bus downtown to go to my probation, to go see my probation officer. And so I do that. And then I'm taking the bus back, and then I meet up with on the bus. There's some of the kids I went to school with, and so we're talking, and they're like, "Hey, we're going to smoke a joint. Do you want to join us?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah!" Sounds like fun. And so this is back when I smoked. I don't do that anymore. But so we do that, and we end up going to Llewellyn, and obviously this must have been in the summer or something. But I'm just following them. Apparently they've done this before, but they end up, so this was like a building here. It wasn't just in like a skeleton, but there was a door right here or right here or something. And it was open. I've never been in this building before. And so we just go in, we go down some stairs, and then there's this like big room here. It's like a storage room or something. And then we just smoked a joint in there. And then over here, there's like some sort of like a wall here, and then if you it's only like a few feet high, and if you go in there, there's just this absolutely pitch black, huge area with dirt on the ground. It's like you're underneath the school or something. It was really weird, but that's what I remember about that. Smoking a joint in this building right here. Very weird. I recreated this area as a Doom level, but I never finished it. I had so many ideas for it, and I did like the outdoor area. I did part of the school, but for some reason, I never finished it. So I did grade 9 at Llewellyn. Yeah, there's another convenience store over here. Once again, you get your penny candies and your chocolate bars and whatnot. Sometimes we would go to Pizza Hut. Right here, we would get the lunch buffet. Actually, my best friend, his mom worked at some type of correctional facility for kids or whatever. And for some reason, her work had the same type of paper that the school had. So basically, when you would go to school, and if you were late, you would get like a late slip, right? And so he got some paper from his mom's work, and it was the same type of paper that our school used. And so he ended up making these counterfeit late slips, and he signed them, and we used them a couple times. So we basically take like an extra long lunch at the Pizza Hut buffet, and then we'd mosey on over to back to school like half an hour late, and we'd hand them the note, the late slip, and never got in trouble. So that was kind of funny. And so what else? What else happened at Llewellyn Park Secondary School? So my best friend, he actually went to school over where? He went to school right here, R.L. Beatty, right? This is R.L. Beatty. Come on, why isn't it showing up? This is a school right here. R.L. Beatty, yeah. This was, I feel like it's a French school, but I guess not. This was sort of a grade, this went up to grade 8, so another junior high. So he went to junior high here. He was a year younger than me, so I hadn't met him yet. So I was in grade 9, he was still in grade 8. I had no idea who he was at the time. But I remember one of the guys we used to hang out with, I think he lived here, Lady Ashley Court. He lived up here. We went to his house a few times, and actually years later, he ended up being on Cash Cab. So that was kind of interesting, the Canadian version of Cash Cab. I remember my buddy came over, and then we had the TV on, and then we saw the guy who was on Cash Cab. It came on, and then my buddy was like, yeah, this guy was on Cash Cab. And I'm like, oh my God, I've been to his house before. Apparently he had a hot sister. I remember that. I think she was a year older or something like that. I can't remember. But yeah, then there's a lot of lakes in Sudbury. Like, look at all of these lakes. So many lakes. And so there's a lake. I've already lost it. So so there's a lake over here. So if I remember correctly, it must be here. Sort of like you can go swimming over here, if I remember correctly. What is this? Loaches? This is Loaches? Oh, I didn't know that. Maybe it's not this one. No, it's Stewart Beach. Yeah, that's it. So where's the beach, though? Is it right here? Yeah, it's got to be this. Stewart Beach. And then there's a thing up here. Yeah. Okay, I remember going to Stewart Beach. Stewart Park. I remember these two guys were going to fight. These two guys who went to the high school, they were going to fight. One of the guys was like a real fat guy. And the other guy, no way. I was going to say the other guy was the same guy who was on Cash Cab. But they ended up just like sparring, and it just no one actually threw a punch. But I remember going here. I went here a few times. I remember going here once, and there was this girl I liked, and she was in a bathing suit. She was really hot. And she said that I had a nice body. I remember feeling really good about that at the time. And what else happened? Oh, yeah. And then some other time, me and my friend and our other friend, we were hockey teammates. We all played in the same hockey team on the AAA team. We were hanging out with these 3 girls. And so we ended up going to Stewart. We were just walking around. We ended up going to Stewart Park, and then we all decided to go in the water. And so the 3 guys, we just went completely naked because we were used to doing that anyways, because, we all shower together anyway because we're all hockey teammates. So we're all completely naked. And then the girls, they were still wearing their bras and panties. But yeah, I remember doing that. That was pretty fun as well. Lots of interesting times back in the day. That must have been, yeah, that was grade 9. Must have been grade 9. It was either grade 8 or grade 9. Honestly, I don't remember. And then what else happened in grade 9? Oh, if you keep going, so there was Pizza Hut here, but if you keep going over here, you go up Service Road. So you don't want to go on here because this is the big street, the big busy street. So you go up Service Road, and then you can go. Is it here? It must be here. No, I think you have to go over here. So you go up Service Road, and then you keep going over here. There was a 2-for-1 pizza. Apparently, I guess it was replaced by a Topper's pizza, but there was a 2-for-1 pizza, and we would often go there for lunch at high school. You get a slice of pizza and a pop, a soda, if you're American. Okay, once again, I have to do this. But I can still remember how the pizza tastes. It's always the pizza. I can just remember it. And the pizza was so hot. It was so hot it would burn your mouth. Oh, such good times back in the days. Back in the days. Okay, and then I think after that, 2 years. I spent 2 years there. So I went to Algonquin Public School, and I went to Llewellyn Secondary School. And then I also, for both of those years, I did track and field as well as playing hockey. And the track and field we did at Laurentian University. So here's the big track right here. Very fond memories of doing the track. I set a record for the 1500 meters in my grade 8 year, a city record. Probably doesn't exist anymore, but they announced it after I finished the race, and I felt really good about myself. And then it was the year after that I raced against a future Olympian, and he ended up beating me, and I felt really bad because I came in second. So if you're first, you're last, just like Ricky Bobby used to say. But yeah, we would work out. They also had a gym in here. They had a gym. They had like a basketball court. So for hockey, I mentioned this previous video, we had to lift weights, and we had to do like cardio and stuff. So for cardio, we would use this track. We wouldn't use the big track. We would use this track. And then there's tennis courts here. I don't remember how many laps we had to do, but then we'd also have to lift weights in the gym and whatnot. And I remember we would have to go in the gym, and then there's a guy who would give you a t-shirt. And if you want to go in the gym, you have to wear this t-shirt. And so he'd give you a t-shirt. It was a gray t-shirt. And I remember I took one home one day. A couple of us did, and they were like our favorite t-shirts. But he was a real cool guy. I feel like he had long hair, and he would say slates, like as in later. He would say slates. Like a cool guy would do back in the 90s. So that's what I remember about that. Yeah, so grade 8, grade 9, Sudbury, Ontario. And then my dad gets transferred again. And 1997, we end up moving all the way over here to St. John's, Newfoundland. Way the hell over here. So that's over 1,000 miles. I don't know how many miles it is, but it's over 1,000 miles. And in order to move there, we ended up driving. So we ended up, I don't know if we went down here, but we ended up going up here. We ended up going into the US for a little bit of it. And then in order to get to St. John, because, Newfoundland is an island. And so in order to get over here, we took a ferry. So I think, I forgot to check this actually. I think the ferry, is this where you get the ferry? I don't know. I mean, it says Trans-Canada Highway. However, there's no highway here. There's no tunnel here. You have to take a ferry. That's why because you can see the dotted line here. So I'm assuming you just have to take a ferry from Sydney, Nova Scotia. I didn't know it was in Sydney, but you have to take it from there and then over to Port aux Basques. So it's one of those ferries where you drive your car on it I'm assuming that's what the moving truck had to do too. I don't really remember, but they went there first. I feel like the movers. I don't remember. But we ended up going over here. We made a bit of a trip out of it. We stopped at a few places, along the way. Ate a bunch of seafood because we're on the Maritimes. I loves my seafood. And then so you get over here to Port aux Basques. And the only way to get to St. John's all the way over here is you have to drive all the way up here and then all the way over here. Like you can see the highway right here. This is the highway. It goes all the way up here, then over here, then over here, and over here, and then over here. You can't just drive along the coast. It would be so much faster, but there's no roads. It's just so uninhabited. Like, there's nothing. And so you have to take the long way. St. John's was a really cool place as well. So we lived, I don't even know where, Virginia Park. I know where we are now. St. John's, by this time, this was the biggest place I ever lived. However, I still feel like London was still the biggest, but I was 2 years old, so I didn't know anything. But at this point, like, St. John's was the biggest place that I've lived. St. John's is an actual city. Sudbury was a city as well, but St. John's is the biggest place. And so where was Virginia Park? Virginia Park's over here. So we lived in like the East End. No, yeah, the East End, the northeast end, I guess. North End. We lived on Paddy Dobbin Drive. Paddy Dobbin. What that means, I do not know. We lived on 38 Paddy Dobbin Drive. So where is that? It must be over here. 38? Okay, so apparently we lived right here. Let's take a little peek-see at the 38 Paddy Dobbin Drive. Can't really see anything at all. Okay, I'm assuming it's this one right here. Yeah, it's got to be this one. The one thing I remember about this house, there were so many doors in this house. Every single room had a door. The kitchen had a door. The living room had a door. The TV room had a door. The basement had a door. The office had a door. Every single doorway, every single room entrance had a door. I don't know if that's normal, but that's the only house I've ever experienced that had doors in every single doorway or whatever. Every single room entrance. But one of the cool things about this is that, from our street, if you, I know it's hard to see right here, but you could see the ocean. So I'll just go down the street a little and I'll just try and show you. We'll go to the end of the street. Okay, it's really hard to see, isn't it? But I swear you could see the ocean. I'm really making a liar out of myself, aren't I? The ocean is like over here. It's hard to see, but you can see the ocean from my street. Okay, let's get out of the street view. I'll just show you. Yeah, so here's Paddy Dobbin right here, right? And here's the ocean. This is the Atlantic Ocean. So up where my street was, it was up high. So basically, like from the coast, the elevation went up and up and up and up, and you could see the ocean from the street. It was really cool, actually. I really liked living in Newfoundland. I spent grade 10 and grade 11 there. So obviously, really important years of my childhood. Very fun times. Also, very kind of stressful times as well. At times, when you're a teenager, but really, really interesting times back then. Yeah, so there were some tennis courts. There was like a park behind our house there. Okay, how do I get this out of the way? Like, seriously. Okay, so Paddy Dobbin Drive. And what do I remember about Paddy Dobbin Drive? Okay, so yeah, yeah, Virginia Lake. Okay, so there's this big ass lake right here, and so the one thing we would do when we were teenagers, we would just sort of like wander the streets at night. We would just hang out and wander the streets at night, walking around, trying to find like weed and trying to find someone to buy us booze and shit like that. And so we would often walk towards Virginia Park, which is over here. And so in order to get out of my like neighborhood, you'd have to go down Paddy Dobbin, down Carrick, and then you get over here onto Newfoundland Drive, and then you take Newfoundland Drive over towards Virginia Park, which is right here, the east end. However, you can make a huge shortcut. Instead of having to go on the roadway, you can, in the wintertime, you could cross the lake, like right here. And it was a very shallow lake as well. So, yeah, and then there's trails like back here too. So you could like go from like here to like, and just cross through here to take a shortcut. I remember one time, Christmas Eve, it was Christmas Eve, we had gone to the mall, to the Avalon Mall, which is over here. Avalon Mall right here. And I remember getting my dad, because my dad's birthday is right around Christmas. And I remember getting him a Pink Floyd CD, and I had it in my cargo pants pocket. And then we end up, so we're walking home. We took the bus, and then we were walking back. I don't know if we were going to my place or to my buddy's place or something, but we end up walking back, and you know, it's Christmas Eve. So it's cold. Like the lake does have ice on it, but it wasn't that cold. So we start walking out onto the ice. So we get over here, and then we start walking out onto the ice, and you know, you can hear cracks, a little bit of cracking, and you know, we're getting quite far, and we just keep hearing cracks, and then all of a sudden we're like pretty far out from the shore, and it just keeps cracking and cracking and cracking. And it's three of us. It's me and my two buddies, and we're just like starting to freak out. And so we sort of spread out. And then one of us falls in. And then we're all like, oh shit. And then everyone ends up falling in as well. So every single one of us fell in. Luckily, it was, like I said, it was very shallow. So we basically had to like break the ice in order to make it to the end over here. And one of these houses ended up calling an ambulance. We didn't really need an ambulance. We were just wet, but they ended up calling an ambulance. But that was pretty embarrassing. It fell through the ice just to take a shortcut. But yeah, my friends, they went to school at St. Paul's. This was a junior high. So basically, high school started in grade 10 in Newfoundland, whereas it started in grade 9 in Ontario. And so on my hockey team, I had made friends with a couple guys, and they went to school here. For whatever reason, there are no high schools in this area of town. All the high schools, okay, let's just do this. High school. Yeah, that's a junior high. This is a junior high. This is an elementary school. Yeah, so we have Gonzaga. We have elementary. Okay, like what the hell? I need a high school. I don't want a school. I want a high school. We have Booth, Prince of Wales. I remember all these schools because I played hockey against them. We would kick their ass all the time. But yeah, there's no high schools in my area of town. So I had to go to school like way over here. Holy Heart, I went to Holy Heart. But the guys I played hockey with, they went to, so where is it? Over here. They went to not Brother Rice. They went to St. Paul's. And we have to figure out where the school is again. Here it is right here. They went to St. Paul's. And so I would hang out with them like on the weekends and after schools and stuff. And my high school, the first high school I went to in grade 10, I literally knew nobody. I didn't know anybody except for this one guy in my homeroom. We didn't share any classes together. We were the same age, but for whatever reason, we never had any classes together. But we would talk in homeroom. He was a guitar player. I had started playing guitar as well. So we would talk about music and stuff like that. I went to his house a bunch of times as well. I never played guitar in front of him because he was always way better than me, and I was not very good at the time, so I was always self-conscious about my guitar playing. We ended up making a switch. We made a trade. I traded my guitar for his guitar, and he gave me a distortion pedal and stuff like that. But yeah, I went to Holy Heart. So where is that? Holy Heart High School. Okay, here we go. 4.1. Yeah, so this was a pretty big high school. One thing I remember about this high school is the hallways were so narrow. You know, whenever the bell rang and you had to change classes, it was just, there was nowhere to walk because all the kids were just packed together. It was ridiculous. But I remember my first day here. It was very nerve-wracking. Once again, I did not know anyone. And so we basically, I got dropped off. Everyone was standing outside. And then they would open up like the auditorium, which I believe is right here. Yeah, the theater. So they opened up the auditorium. All the kids had to go in the auditorium. And then someone on the stage or whatever, they would call out a bunch of names. And everyone whose name got called out, that was for a specific homeroom. So they had to go to that room. Then they would call up the next batch of names and all, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so I still remember what I was wearing that day too. I had my jeans. It was a really nice day. I had my nice jeans. I had my long sleeve, like button-up shirt tied around my waist. I was very grungy. I was really big into Nirvana at the time. Yeah, I did not know anybody at the school except for that one guy. And I did not like going to school here. Oftentimes I would sort of skip school. I would just like walk around at lunchtime, you know, just hanging out on my own. I would often go down this street right here. And then trying to think, it's hard to remember because look at all the streets, right? But I would go, there was some sort of park. Wasn't there a park? I mean, that looks like a park. But I would go down here. I would go to some convenience store and I would often get like one ice cream bar for like 99 cents or something. But I would also go like downtown over here, and they had music stores. I remember there was this place called Fred's. I would go in there. I would often buy used cassettes and sometimes a CD. But yeah, I would have my Walkman. I would listen to music. So that was really fun. So yeah, I did. I went to Holy Heart High School. I didn't do any more track and field, unfortunately, but I did play hockey. They did not have track. They didn't have AAA in Newfoundland. Their highest was single ice, but I remember playing that. We ended up winning, which was really nice. Yeah, one time actually a couple times I walked home. I mean, it's pretty far. I wonder how far. I feel like it's 5 kilometers or something like that. How do I do directions? Okay, directions. 38 Patty Dobbin. Okay, 6 kilometers. Seems like a long way. I haven't been back since 90 or since the year 2000. So I have not been back there in 25 years. So it's really hard to remember. Oh, one thing I remember about this, I feel like it's this one. Yeah, so there's a bit of a hill here, and then there's a street right here, right? And then there's a bunch of trees, and we have a couple baseball diamonds. One thing I remember is there was a school dance, and me and my buddies, we ended up getting drunk before the dance, and then we went to the dance, and I had a girlfriend at the time. You know, she was annoyed that I was drunk. Obviously, I wasn't really drunk, but we had been drinking. So that was a bit of a debacle. And then afterwards, I called her. Me and my friends went back to my place, and we went in my room. And I told this story already, but I called her on the phone. And in order to get some privacy, I went under my bed. So like I crawled under my bed, like the top half of my body was under my bed, and I had the phone to my ear. I was talking to her, and then like my legs were out from under my bed, and my friends were just like shooting the shit, acting like idiots. But I remember that. I also remember walking through here on my own when I was skipping school one day, and I had my Walkman, what's that? What are those called? I was going to call it earbuds, but I don't think they were earbuds at the time. They must have been like headphones. But I had the Walkman playing. I remember listening to it's a soundtrack, the Mortal Kombat soundtrack, the movie soundtrack. Had some good songs on it. Fear Factory was on it. Napalm Death was on it. So I remember doing that. What else? So grade 10, I went to Holy Heart, which is right here. Holy Heart, okay. And then grade 11 starts. I go back to Holy Heart. So meanwhile, like I said, my group of friends, they had been going to that junior high that was in my neighborhood, to St. Paul's. And so they were in grade 9. And so the next year they went into grade 10, and they went into high school. And so then they ended up going to... Okay, here it is right here. Okay, so this is completely different, by the way. They're like right next to Holy Heart. There used to be a place called Brother Rice, and it was a high school. So here's Holy Heart. I'm not even joking. Brother Rice was literally right next to it. It must be this building right here, but I don't know what this building is. But the Brother Rice High School doesn't exist anymore. So it was basically, I went to Brother Rice for grade 11. The year after, it stopped being a high school. And then all the people who went to that high school had to get transferred over to Gonzaga, which is over here or something like that. So what I'm saying is all my friends who were going to the junior high, they ended up going to Brother Rice High School, the school that was right next to Holy Heart, the one that I had been going. So I started going to Holy Heart. I went there for like a couple days, and then I realized like I know nobody at the school. All my friends go to the school next door. Can I just go to that school? And so it was kind of a bit of an ordeal. I wanted to transfer schools, and I told the guy, or like, I remember being with my dad and talking to the principal of Brother Rice. He was really sort of hesitant about letting me do this. I don't know why. He was being a real dick about it. I don't know if it was because I was a mainlander. I wasn't a Newfoundlander. And so there was a little bit of a prejudice against the mainlanders. So I don't know if that's why, but I think we were able to convince him because I wanted to play on the hockey team. And because I'd played travel hockey the year prior, and we won the championship. And so now I was going to play on the high school team. And so eventually he let me do it. And we won the championship that year as well. So just nonstop winning. Now I have to search, man, like Brother Rice. So how do I just search? Can I do this? Okay. Brother Rice. Well, obviously it doesn't exist anymore. Brother Rice, St. John's. See, it doesn't even exist anymore. You know, originally, did it just go to Holy Heart? It totally did. So when it stopped being a high school, it turned into a junior high. But I don't even know if it's a junior high anymore. Brother Rice, Junior High, St. John's. Does that even exist anymore? Apparently it does. Home of the Celtics, whatever. Where is it? Wait a minute, junior high. So it's only grade 8 and grade 9? Oh, grade 7. 7, 8, and 9. Okay. But where is the address? Hello? About? It doesn't even tell you where it is. Am I crazy? Okay. How about a friggin' map? Does it show up in Google or something? Like, so Brother Rice, how about some address action? 75 Bonaventure. So that's where we were looking, right? So 75 Bonaventure. 75 Bonaventure Avenue. Yeah. Okay, so that's what it is. For some reason, it doesn't show up. Yeah, I had a lot of fun going to high school here. You know, I had a lot of friends there. This was a gigantic cemetery again, by the way. Right next to here. This was a huge hill. So basically, it was very hilly in Newfoundland as well. And so from up here, we're up high here. And then it goes down a big hill. But yeah, I had a lot of good times. This was quite a smaller school compared with Holy Heart. Playing on the high school hockey team was so fun. That was probably the best time I ever played hockey. The best time I ever had playing hockey, even though it was just high school hockey. But it was really cool because, you know, normally in Ontario, if you played travel hockey, like if you played competitive hockey, you're not allowed to play on the high school hockey team. It was basically only because, you know, you would have been too good. But they didn't care about that in Newfoundland. So you could play travel hockey and you could play high school hockey at the same time. And so high school hockey in Newfoundland was pretty competitive because some of the guys who played on the travel team also played on the high school team. And so it was really fun. And our rink was right here, actually. It was this one right here. Yetman's Arena. And so it's like right there, right next to Holy Heart. I don't know if it was also Holy Heart's arena, home arena. I'm not sure. It was small. It was really small. But so that was our home arena. So whenever we had to practice or whenever we had a home game, we would just bring our gear, like our equipment, into school. We'd stick it in a closet. And then at the end of the school day, we would grab our gear and we would just walk over here. So I don't know how long that is. It's got to be like 200 meters away, but it was really nice. And also it was really nice because, you know, people would come to our games. A lot of people would come to our games, like people from our school. So this is like being in Newfoundland, going to school in Newfoundland was sort of like almost like being on a TV show. You know, you watch a TV show, people have school spirit, you know, there's pep rallies and it seems like I'd never experienced that before. So going to school in Newfoundland was most like being in a TV show or in a movie. And there was also a lot of cliques as well. I don't know if it was because this was the biggest place I've been, but like I remember. So, I mean, I was an athlete. I was a jock, I guess, but I enjoyed smoking weed. And so I was a bit of a burnout too. But I played both sides. And I think that helped. Because people initially when I joined the team here, some of the guys, they weren't sure of me. Like some of the older guys, they were like, "This guy's a burnout. What the hell?" But I ended up winning them over with my skill, and it was actually really funny because there was this weed dealer at the school, and whenever I would score a goal in a game, the next day he would invite me over at lunch to smoke a joint with him. So that was always fun. Whenever I would score a goal, he would invite me over. But that's the thing. Even he had school spirit. So these people who went to the school, they felt pride in their hockey team winning. And so, you know, our games had a lot of people from our school going to them. By far the most fans I've ever had at one of my hockey games. And it's from the high school. And we ended up winning the championship. I remember the championship game, the arena was packed. It was this arena because we were the home team. There was just so many people there. All the people from school, lots of cheering. Even the principal that was there, he did not like me because I ended up, you know, transferring into the school. He didn't want me to transfer, but I ended up doing it. And like halfway through the school year, I started skipping a lot of school, and I got in trouble from him. And there was sort of we had a big argument, and I sort of stormed out and all that sort of stuff. And so we had a bit of we sparred, I guess. Is that the word? I'm not sure. He did not like me though, until the very ending, when I think I won him over because our team won. And it was worth it, I guess. And I ended up scoring a couple really important goals in those final games. One of them being a shootout goal, I think, in the final game. And I can still remember doing it. I remember going down and stick handling. My favorite shot was I shot right, so I liked doing it top right hand corner, just doing the little snapshot, the quick snapshot. And the quick snap / wrist shot. And so I remember going down, and the goalie, he just kept backing up. He kept backing into his net. And so by the time I was ready to shoot, I just look up, and because that was my favorite shot. And I just look up, and there's this gaping hole up in the top right-hand corner. And I'm like, okay, so I shoot it there, snipe it, top cheese, and score. And I, you know, put my hands up, and that's basically the best part of my life, my best moment of my life. Not really, but I still remember that. Very fun. And what else happened at Brother Rice? So Brother Rice was the school where we had the dance. I think it was over here, the dance hall area, where my friends and I were drunk. And then there's also I think this is the gym over here. We had another dance over there. I remember my girlfriend got her hair all done. Honestly, it was kind of stupid. I don't know. Like she looked better without her hair being done. You know how girls like spend money on something to look pretty, and they already looked prettier before. That's what I thought. I didn't tell her that, obviously, but that's how I thought. I was thinking to myself, like, why would you do that? I mean, it looks okay, but you look better before. And yeah. Anyway, I mentioned her in a previous video. So just trying to think here, what else I can talk about now. But yeah, basically just my friends and I, we would just walk the streets around here in the north/east end. I guess the east end, yeah. Some of my friends lived in this area of town. What is it, Virginia Park? Yeah, my girlfriend lived, where did she live? She lived around here somewhere. And then I knew people who lived like over here. I knew people, one of my best friends lived over here. More friends lived over here. Oh yeah, here we have Fagan Drive. So there's a park over here, Fagan Park. This was another, this was a hangout where we would hang out and, drink and act like assholes. Not over here. There was like a fence over here, and there was a hole in the fence where we can go into the woods here. We'd hang out in the woods. So we would do that. I think this tennis court belonged to this house. So this guy had a tennis court. I really feel bad for the people who lived around this park because there were so many asshole teenagers that used to cause so much bullshit over here. I was one of them. I was a stupid idiot teenager that used to behave like a complete moron over here. I remember one time we were drinking and just walking the streets, and I drank too much. My dad used to make wine, and like homemade wine, and my sister and I we used to take a bottle. So I don't know if you know what a hockey sock is, but you would wear the hockey sock over your shin pads, and they're very thick and very big. And so we would put a wine bottle in the hockey sock, and we put it in our bag so it wouldn't rattle around. And one night I ended up drinking the entire bottle of wine, and I also had some like hard liquor as well. And that's by far the most drunk I've ever been. I was throwing up the entire night, stumbling. I remember like I was over here, and I think it was this guy's lawn or something, this guy's lawn, front yard. And I was just like stumbling around on his yard, and the guy came out and he's like, I'm going to call the cops. And then they ended up getting me off the yard and walking away. But, and then we have McDonald's over here. We would often go to McDonald's, and we'd either get, burgers or, one of the fan favorites was the McFlurry. I feel like it had just been introduced. When was the McFlurry introduced in Canada? 1995. Yeah, so it was relatively, I guess, became popular and was introduced in the United States in 97? What? Introduced in Canada by Ron McClellan, franchise owner in Bathurst, New Brunswick. Okay, so it was around that time. I mean, I moved to Newfoundland in 97. It says quickly became popular and was introduced in the United States in 1997. So, I mean, it may have been introduced in New Brunswick, but I lived in Newfoundland, so that seems right, because that's what I was thinking, right? Yeah, the McFlurry was a big part of our lives back then. I haven't had one in a long ass time. So I spent 2 years in Newfoundland. Had a lot of fun. I had a girlfriend. I talked about this in my previous video. What video was it? It was one of those Q&A videos. And I think it was the most embarrassing moments section. And I talked about it, how, I was just like obsessed with her. And then I learned that my family had to move again. We had to move back to Sudbury. And so my girlfriend and I, we kept breaking up, and, she kept breaking up with me because, as I said in my previous video, I am socially and romantically retarded. And so I didn't know how to be in a relationship. I wanted to be in a relationship. I was like obsessed with her, but I didn't know how to do it because I'm stupid. And so she kept breaking up with me. But then I learned that I had to move, and then we became a lot closer again, and our relationship just got so good. It was the best it had ever been. And then fast forward to the very last day, I think I lost my virginity like the day before I had to move. And so then the very last day I go to her house, and we're taking pictures with her mom's taking pictures of us, and then I have to leave because I'm moving. And So she ends up walking me. Okay, so where did I say she lived? She lived in one of these cul-de-sacs. So she ends up walking with me down here. And then I don't know if we go this way or if we go over here. But we go like behind the junior high. And then there's a trail here. And then we go over here. And then there's a bridge right here. Yeah, Virginia River Walk. And so we get to the bridge. And that was going to be our parting ways spot. And so then I would walk up here and I would go back up to my house and she would walk back to her house. And I remember hitting the bridge. Where's the bridge? I lost it. Oh, here it is over. No, where the F is the bridge? Come on. Okay, here it is. So we get to the bridge, you know, we're hugging and we're kissing and then I just start bawling because I realize that our relationship is just going to absolutely die after this. And, you know, I ended up moving. I tried to make it work long distance, but it didn't end up working out, unfortunately for me. She got over it, but I didn't. And then so then we ended up moving back to Sudbury. So we're back in Sudbury. Okay, so where's Sudbury? Here it is right here. So where is my house again? Where the F? Come on, man. Okay, we've got a reference point, Four Corners. So Four Corners and then the high school. Here we go. Here's the high school. Okay, so we moved to like a similar area. Initially, we lived in Mallard's Landing, right? On Sweetberry, right here. And this time we ended up moving over on the other side of Regent, which is over here. And we ended up moving to Christie Court. Here it is right here. Very nice. Christie Court. And 19 is the one. Is this it right here? I can't read that. Yeah, it's got to be, right? 19 Christie Court. Oh. Yep, that looks like it. Okay. Yeah. And it looks like these stones are still there. I put those stones down. My dad made me put these stones down back in like 2004 or something, or 2003. I don't remember, but yeah, we had to redo the driveway. And so he made me do it. I remember I brought my stereo system outside onto the porch right here. And I was listening to Slayer, to the album Rain and Blood, I believe, while I was putting the stones down. So that's what I remember about that. Our neighbor here, it was a family, a husband and wife, and then they had a couple kids, and the wife ended up killing herself. I think, if I remember correctly, the story was that she was in a car and she did the what's that called? Like a tube? The hose from the exhaust into the car, carbon monoxide poisoning. She did that. I don't know where she did it. I don't think she did it at home. I think she did it somewhere else. But so that was sad. And then I think either the guy's brother or her brother ended up moving in, and so the family ended up moving out. But yeah, that was unfortunate. So there's Christie Court right there. Yeah, so we move here. And then I'm going back to Llewellyn for grade 12. Okay, so let's just recap here. So from kindergarten to grade 2, I went to Lucan Public School. Grade 3 to grade 5, I went to Highland Public School in Cambridge. Grade 6 and grade 7, I went to St. Andrew's Public School, St. Andrew's Junior High, Cambridge. And then grade 8, my nose is so itchy. Grade 8, I went to Algonquin Public. Okay, I've already miscounted. Lucan, Highland, St. Andrews. Grade 8, I went to Algonquin Public School in Sudbury, Ontario. Grade 9, I went to Llewellyn High School in Sudbury. Grade 10, I went to Holy Heart High School in St. John's. Did I say grade 11? I meant grade 10. Grade 10, I went to Holy Heart. Grade 11, I went to Brother Rice. And then grade 12, I went back to Llewellyn. So it was kind of a crazy school time for me, I feel like. It was kind of funny because while I was going to Lucan in grade 9, I was, big into sports. I was a big sports guy, even though I believe I had started playing guitar, but I was not very good. I wasn't playing very often, and so I was very inexperienced. So I wasn't fully into the music yet. And then I moved to Newfoundland, and I get all into music, hardcore into music. I write music, and I started writing music in 1997. So from Newfoundland, I lived there from 97 to 99. 99, moved back to Sudbury. And 97 to 99, I ended up recording music onto cassette tapes with a microphone. So that was really fun. And moved back to Sudbury, go back to Llewellyn, and I see the people who I went to school with back in grade 9, and they're all like, oh, wow, you're so different now. I believe I had started growing. Yeah, I had started growing my hair as well. My clothes were different. I was into I was into music as well. So it must have been a change that way. But I feel like I was still fairly similar in terms of personality. So grade 12 is interesting though. I got a job. Where did I get a job? I got a job at Harvey's. Yeah, so I don't know if this was during or after. No, because I had to go back to school like after grade 12 because, because like I said, I had a problem with skipping school. And especially grade 12, I was just so depressed because I wasn't going out with my girlfriend anymore, and I couldn't stop thinking about her. So I was not doing very well in school, and I ended up having to go to school again the next year. But I ended up getting a job at Harvey's right here. Harvey's is a fast food burger restaurant, and I ended up doing. Wait a minute. Okay, no, not yet. Not yet. I don't do this yet. Okay, so I spent a year here. I spent a year in Sudbury, Christie Court. And so one thing, my best friend, he lived like around here on Loaches. And you can see I live in Christie Court, right? And so if I were to go to his house, if he were to go to my house, I would have to go along the road down here, go down here, and then go up Loaches. Or I could just like cut through a backyard here, and then it's like way faster. So that's what I used to do. I used to like cut through the backyard. And one time by this time I had long hair, like fully long hair. It was dark. I couldn't see, there's trees, branches in my face. And so I bring out my lighter and I lit it, and then to try and see where I'm going. And I ended up lighting the side of my hair on fire. It literally went up in flames, and I put it out, and there's a chunk of it gone. Now, I like the smell of burnt hair. Now, I know it's considered to be like a really bad smell, but my friends and I back in Newfoundland, we were stupid. We used to play with lighters, and we used to burn our arm hair off just for fun. We used to do like lighter tricks and stuff like that. So I was used to the smell of burnt hair. I didn't mind it. I actually kind of liked it. But I burnt my hair that one day. I was heading to my friend's house. And so I go there. There are a couple other guys there as well. And so I go inside, and, you could tell that they're like, what the hell did you do to your hair? Because they could smell it. And they were pretty grossed out by it. But I still remember doing that. So I spent a year here going to grade 12. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm just trying to piece together the timeline here. So I do grade 12. I do not do very well at all. I also skipped school in Newfoundland, so I'm like performing horribly in school lately. You can sort of get away with that if you're an athlete, which is what I did, especially that last year at Brother Rice because I was playing high school hockey. And so, but I can't stop thinking about my girlfriend. And, because I told her that I was going to move back a year later and I was going to get a job. But, she ended up moving on with her life. I already told this story in that Q&A video, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. But basically, a year goes by and I end up moving back to Newfoundland again. And I stay at my friend's parents' place. And I ended up getting another job. I hadn't got that job at Harvey's yet. I ended up getting a job in St. John's. Where is it, though? That's the thing. Churchill Square, I think is what it's called. So let's bring this out. Churchill Square. Okay, so here's the park, and Churchill Square is over here. Yeah. Okay, so there should be an A&W in here somewhere. I don't know if it shows up or not, but there used to be an A&W restaurant. And I worked here. This is the job I got. So in this one, I worked in the kitchen, and so I not skipped school. I quit school. I dropped out of school. So I finished grade 12, but I didn't graduate because I didn't have enough credits yet. So I skipped school. I dropped out of school, moved to Newfoundland to my friend's parents' place. I get a job at A&W, flipping burgers, and it's very funny because even though I dropped out of school, because of my age, I was 17 years old. I had to, they paid me minimum wage, but I got the student minimum wage, which was even lower than the regular minimum wage. I remember it was $5.50 an hour. This was in the year 2000. And so I was doing that, and, I was paying my friend's parents a little bit of rent, not a whole lot, and that's what I was doing for money, working at this burger place. I was hoping that I could get back together with my ex-girlfriend, even though she already had a new boyfriend. It was just a rumor, I guess, at least from what my friends told me, until finally, she never told me that she had a boyfriend, but I remember this is part of my most embarrassing story, my most embarrassing moment in that Q&A video. And so I'm working here in A&W, and then I go over here to the bank to get some money from the ATM. And then her and her boyfriend were there. And that was the first time I saw her in a year. I'm in my burger uniform. I got my hat. I got my long hair. I might have had I probably did have a hairnet. And I reek like French fries because I worked in the kitchen. And so yeah, that was my most embarrassing moment, seeing her with her new boyfriend there. And yeah, and then I ended up. So I do that. So basically, when I wasn't working, me and my friend who I was living with, he ended up dropping out of high school too, and we basically just drove around and. We would try and smoke weed every day, and because I had a job, so I was able to buy weed and stuff like that. But I mean, it was fun times. However, the reason I went there was to try and get back with my girlfriend, and that didn't end up working. So it was a real disaster. But so then I moved back to Newfoundland, to Sudbury yet again. And I finished school, and that's when I got the job at Harvey's. Well, now we have to figure out where that is again. Where's Four Corners? Here it is right here. Okay, so here's Llewellyn. Okay, so go down Loaches, and Harvey's is right here. All right. So for this one, Harvey's is another burger place, but this one I did not work in the, well, I did work in the kitchen, but I did not make food. So I was what was known as the maintenance guy. So I worked after hours. I worked the graveyard shift. So basically the restaurant closed and then my shift started. And so my job was to clean up the kitchen. So I would have to mop, I would have to clean like the fryers, I would have to clean the hood above the grill, I would have to clean the grill, I would have to put new oil into the fryers, I would have to, drain the old oil. And then I would have to clean like the milkshake machine. That was disgusting because it always had old milk in it and it reeked. But I mean, I did like that job. I liked the hours, the graveyard shift hours. I would work from like, I don't know if it was 10 or 10:30, probably from like 10 to 4 or 10 to 5 or something like that. I enjoyed that. I was by myself. I really liked that. I could just go at my own pace. I used to bring like a CD player in with some speakers and I'd listen to death metal. It was really fun. And then, when my shift was over, oftentimes I would walk across the street here to Tim Hortons, where's Tim Hortons? Tim Hortons should be like right here or something. It's not there. There used to be a Tim Hortons somewhere. Does Tim Hortons not exist anymore? Like, what's going on? How is that even possible that a Tim Hortons was moved? Oh, here it is. Okay. Was it always here? It may have always been here. Okay. I thought it was over here, but I guess it's over here. Anyway, Tim Hortons is right here. So back in my day, the year 2000, 25 years ago, Tim Hortons used to make their donuts. So it's a donut place. They used to make their donuts from scratch like early, like 4 a.m. And then they would have fresh donuts for the whole day. And so my shift would end around 4 or 5, between 4 and 5. And I would walk over to Tim Hortons. They had just finished making their batch of donuts. And so I'd sit down, I'd get like a dozen or a half dozen donuts, and I would eat 2 of them. And I would get a French vanilla cappuccino. And so I remember doing that. And then I would bring the rest home and put them in the fridge or something. But I remember doing that. It was really cool, really fun, getting super fresh donuts. These days, Tim Hortons is disgusting. I can't even eat it. I don't know what they do. The donuts are like pre-made and then they put them in the oven or something, but it's not very good. But yeah, I have memories of doing that. Hey, there's a Mary Brown's here? Oh my God. I didn't know that. That must be new. Basically, when the guy I lived with at his parents' house, his dad owned one of the Mary Brown's locations in Newfoundland. And so I think it was Friday nights, his dad would bring home a huge thing of Mary Brown's chicken, fried chicken. And basically all of us would have like a feast. That was awesome. It was me, it was my friend, and it was his brother, and it was his sister, and then it was his dad and his mom. So that was always cool. And there were a couple times where it was me and him and a couple of our other friends. We were just screwing around, and basically he was able to, my friend, because his dad owned the location or whatever. We could go into the location. And he would have to like sign something or write down something. And he was able to get like free chicken. And so I think a couple times we did that and we had like a big feast. It was really good. So if you know someone whose parents own like a fast food place, get in good with them because you can get some free food out of it. And with that being said, how long has this video been? 2 hours. I think that's enough. Now, I'm just trying to think if I know anything else that I can talk about. Probably not, really. I mean, there's one more thing I could talk about. Basically, because I was working the graveyard shift, my sleeping patterns were completely out of whack. So when I moved back to Sudbury, I got a job, and I only needed a few more credits at high school. So I think for high school, I only had to do it during the day, like before noon, I should say. And so I was working this graveyard shift job, and then I would end up going to school after. And so basically going to school in the morning was like my nighttime. And so I would be done by noon, and then I would go home and I would go to sleep. And then I would wake up like at 8 p.m. or something, and I would go to work at Harvey's for the graveyard shift. It was actually cool because I believe before I would go to work a little early, and I'd get a burger for breakfast. So that was really cool. But yeah, I did like the hours. One thing though is that was really annoying was because your hours are all out of whack. By the time it's supper time, a fast food place is only serving breakfast. So oftentimes I would bike over to McDonald's. So where is, I've already lost, here we are. So I would bike over here. I would bike over to McDonald's over here. But they only serve breakfast. So I'd have to get a McGriddle and like a hash brown or whatever, which was good. And I would eat it up here somewhere. I would eat it somewhere like over here. I forget. There was like a picnic table up here or something like that. It was very, very calm, and here we have deluxe hamburgers. It's very funny because McDonald's has the double arches, 3.1. Deluxe has a single arch. You see the one arch there? Kind of funny. Sometimes I would go there. They were okay. I remember my sister's friend. She was really hot. My sister's friend was really hot. And her, I don't know if it was her mom or her grandma, owned Deluxe. I don't know if my sister got free food out of it, but yeah, because my hours were so out of it. This was back when I was smoking weed too. So I would basically just I'd be up all night and just screwing around if I wasn't working or whatever. And then I would just like bike around and just smoke a joint. And then other times I would just go on these long bike rides. So the one time I was over here, where was I? I was over here at home, and I would bike over here. I biked down this way. I forget which way, if I went this way or if I went this way. I probably went this way. Yeah, to go downtown. Yeah, so here's downtown. You go over the bridge here. You got the train tracks underneath. So now you're over here, you're downtown. And so I get over here, and I believe I start to go over here. Yeah, so if you go this way, what is this road called? Yeah, the Kingsway. So I start biking over here, and then if you go far enough, apparently there's a Wendy's, there is a movie theater. Where's the movie theater? There's a Costco. There's a Best Buy, there's a Winners. Where the heck is the movie theater? I swear there's a movie theater here somewhere. Yeah, Cinemas. Okay. So this is what I was going to bike all the way here just for fun. This was at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. or something. So I'm biking down the road. I wonder how far away that is. What was that called? Silver City? I think it was called Silver City. Silver City, yeah. So let's do that. 19 Christie Court. Okay. We'll do directions, and we will do Silver City. I'm assuming it's this one, right? Yeah, so how far is that? 11 kilometers. Okay, not bad. So I already lost where I was. Silver City is up here? Yes. So I was on my way to Silver City, and then I was just going to bike back because nothing's open. And so I got to like over here. Yeah, I was doing this S curve here. And all of a sudden, a cop car comes up behind me with the lights on. And I'm like, what the hell? And they pull me over. I'm just biking on like the sidewalk here. And I got a backpack. I think I had a bottle of water inside. And so I stop and they're like, they start talking to me, you know, they're asking me what I'm doing. And, you know, they ask me what's in the bag. And I'm like, well, just a bottle of water, you can see. And I open it, or I say that they can open it, and then they open it. And they realize I'm just out for, and so they ask me what I'm doing. And I'm like, well, I'm just out for a bike ride. And they said something like, why are you out so late? I'm like, nothing better to do. I don't know if I told them that I'm always up this late. I can't remember, but they thought I was up to no good, purely based on, probably because of what I was wearing. I think I was wearing like a hoodie and I had dark clothing on. I had a backpack. They probably thought I was like stealing something. That happened to me later on again. A few years later, I was biking in the winter. I had gone to get some food at the store and I was biking back. Same thing. A cop car comes up with the lights, pulls me over, asks me what I'm doing. I guess because I was biking in the winter. I don't know. There was like snow on the ground and all that. And they asked me what was in the bag. I told them, you know, I just went over to Shoppers to get some food. It was late again. The Shoppers was like 24 hours, I believe. So never got shot because I complied. You got to comply. If the cops ask you questions, you got to be nice because they're trying to help you. They're trying to help society. So you have to help them help society. And that's the lesson of the day. I think there's nothing else I really want to talk about. The video is long enough as it is. So I'm probably going to cut it short here. I don't know if this was an okay. I don't know if anyone's even going to watch this, but I did have a fun time revisiting my my old neighborhoods. One thing I didn't talk about actually is what I'm going to talk about now. So let's go back to Christie Court. Is it right here? Good. It's still popped up. So basically, when I moved back to Newfoundland and I lived with my friend, my parents got a dog. They got a golden lab or yellow lab, whatever they're called, named Kirby. And so when I ended up moving back after the disaster that was Newfoundland for the second time, they had a dog. They had a puppy. And so I had to get used to the puppy, and I eventually got used to him, and I really liked him, and I would take him for walks. And so we would go for these walks. We would go up Latimer. We would go up Montel, and then it's sort of, the road ends here, but then there's a trail. And then you can go all the way through, like into this, into these woods over here. And there's a lot of rocks too. There's tons of rocks in Sudbury. It's very rocky. As you can see, right? A lot of rocks. But I had a lot of fun taking him for walks back here. You know, it gets really cold in the wintertime. And so we did a lot of very fun cold walks. That's when I started taking photos as well. I started taking sky photos and landscape photos and whatnot with the digital camera. And so basically, you know, you go up here, it's a hill that you have to climb, and you go up Montel. Once again, it's a hill. You go into the woods. Once again, you're going up and up and up and up. And so by the time you get to the rocks, you have this amazing vantage point. And I took some very nice photos from up here. But yeah, I had a lot of good times walking with Kirby. So let's leave it at that. Goddamn. Windows 11 better fix this eventually. Anyway, I'll see you next time.